All right, let's do this. We're back with another video. I want to talk about everything that transpired last week all the way into the weekend with the AMA with Forex, all the momentum. I want to talk about all of it, and I'll give you my honest thoughts about what I thought from the AMA, what I think about going forward, give you some price predictions and all that. So we'll get into that in just a second. I asked you guys recently to like and subscribe if you didn't already. It helped a ton. Got a bunch of new subscribers last week, so thank you very much. If you enjoy my content, if you wouldn't mind, hitting the subscribe button, it certainly helps me out a lot, boosts me up in the algorithm, makes me look more important. So hopefully I can get to AMAs with the big guys. But I appreciate all you guys. My engagement is awesome. I get 100 comments every single video and a lot of likes and shares and stuff. So I appreciate you guys a ton. I also wanted to say that I appreciate all the new team members that jumped on. So last week, with all that momentum that was going on, a good handful of people joined the team. I want to say 4 or 5 did. So what I've done is I've claimed some drip here. I think I tried to claim 12 or something. This is what I get after taxes. So I'm going to split this up among the new team members, and I will kick that airdrop off, all those airdrops off right after this video. So let's get into all the details. Last week, momentum was brewing. I mean, it was really cooking up. We went from the beginning of the week at like mid fours, like 465 or something like that, all the way up to the mid $9 range, which was pretty impressive. We peaked right before the AMA, so everything was just really cruising up. And that's likely due to the anticipation that we were going to get a date on that AMA of when the animal farm is going to launch. So the AMA was hosted by our very own Crypto Kings. I really thought he did a good job, especially toward the end there. He was able to squeeze out some additional answers and some additional clarification that we really wanted. Forex is a tough guy to nail down, so I think he did a good job there. AMA started out as usual, a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation. And then as Forex started talking, it became clear we weren't going to get a date on this call. So if you were watching the price on the native DEX, you saw a big rally all the way up until the beginning of the AMA. And then as soon as it was clear that the date wasn't coming, sell-off happened and everything started to dump. And I was pretty bummed at first at the price action. I thought if we got a date, we could have pushed into the 12s, but we didn't. Everything really kind of tapered off from there. I started to think about it psychologically. Hey, who's selling? What's really going on here? And what I came to the realization of, you guys can tell me if you think the same, but I truly think that 80% of the people that sold during that period would have sold anyway. Like, who of us would sell if the price hit $10, $12, $15? Not a lot of us. A lot of us are looking toward the future. So for me, I'm not selling anything at that price. And for the average person that's really bullish on drip, I just don't think we're selling those prices yet. I think a lot of us are willing to participate in the no-sell August. So I actually think that a lot of those people were waiting to sell just to get a pump from the AMA so they could dump their drip and move on. Even if people were just trying to day trade it, right? They just bought a bunch of drip tokens, didn't put them in the faucet. They bought them down low at 6 or 7. It was up at 9. They thought, hey, if this jumps to 12, even with the tax hit, I can, arbitrage, make some money here. So we'll see. I'd say the other 20%, let's be realistic. Some people are just losing confidence in Forex, and so they're ready to move on. And that's okay. Let's not hate on those people. People are entitled to their own opinions. It's a free market. They're able to do whatever they want to with their money. I would say that their frustrations are justified. Forex has moved the marker of the completion date over and over and over again. And so some people are just lost confidence and they're just ready to move on. And that's okay. Not everybody, needs to believe in every project. Not everybody has a maximum amount of patience. I'm not a very patient person, so all these false starts and stops kind of frustrate me too, but that's just the way it works. So key points from the AMA, and I'll try to whittle these down because, those AMAs are 2 hours long. I just want to give you some quick bullet points so you can watch it inside of a 10-minute video. Of course, like I said, we did not get a date. Forex did, however, say that the animal farm white paper, the animal farm docs, would be out today. So take that with a grain of salt in Forex time. It could mean tomorrow or Wednesday, so we just need to be prepared for that. I do think that coming out will give some additional hype. So I think once that actually hits, it shows progress. Just like when the scratchy white paper came out, we saw a pretty solid increase in price. Everyone was getting ready for that launch date. I think we'll see a little bit of that as soon as the animal farm white paper comes out. But I don't think it'll be as severe because people are going to wait for that date. I think there's nothing that's really going to be a catalyst to really spike the price until the day we actually get the date from Forex. From what we're hearing, Forex kicked out a little update on Telegram earlier today and said that we will have a launch date next week. So if it goes on its typical pattern, Tuesday or Thursday of next week, we might get that launch date. But we'll see, right? You got to take those timelines with a grain of salt. So we're just waiting it out. Now, I thought this clarification was probably the most important. something we hadn't really heard very clearly. So here is the order in which things are going to start rolling out, because he's going to do each piece at an individual time. That way, each piece of the protocol gets its own time to shine. They have their own kind of marketing package for that. So he's rolling this stuff out one by one. It won't launch all at the same time, which is kind of what he said a couple months ago. They were going to try to launch it around the same time. I'm wondering if the marketing team came in and said, no, we got to dedicate time slots for each of these so we can push a marketing campaign that will be super specific to that individual product. So Animal Farm, we're 6 to 8 weeks out, something like that. There's a little bit of buffer in there. We've got 4 to 6 weeks of marketing, and we're supposed to get a date next week. So I guess it could happen as early as 5 weeks, but I'm betting 6 to 8. So anywhere in there would be fine. It doesn't really push the timelines out, as far as I was thinking, because I was kind of thinking mid-September anyway. So we could still be in that range, and the frustration from the delay could just kind of be a moot point. But as soon as we do get that date, right, hopefully next week, middle of next week, early next week if we're lucky, then the marketing starts, and that's what's super important. If we have a real marketing team on and they're doing a bunch of paid advertisements, we will get eyes on our product. I do have some questions around that. What happens when they see the marketing? Where are they going to go? Are they going to have the ability to buy anything? Is there going to be any type of pre-sale to lock in capital? Because if you get something out in front of somebody and they can see it and they say, I want to buy right now, where do they go and what do they buy? So this may be a ploy to get more people into Drip. I'm just interested in that. And if I ever get a moment to speak with the man, I'd like to talk in detail about how exactly that marketing campaign will work. So when marketing kicks off, I expect the price to slowly start increasing, at least at the very least trend sideways, but I think we'll get some moves up and then some sideways trend there until the next item comes out, which is the Pigpen game. Following the Pigpen game is supposedly the new Drip UI, which is awesome. I'm excited for that. Then the Dogs game, and then Scratchy's going to come out. So Scratchy's coming out way later than we initially expected. We were thinking this summer. It was looking maybe like June, then July, August, September, October. We're probably looking at November, December. It's supposedly still going to happen in this year, but we'll see. We'll see how everything goes out. To me, I'm frustrated by that just because I think Scratchy's like one of the most bullish things that we've got. And I'm legitimately excited to buy those tickets and scratch them and see if I can win something. So in the grand scheme of things, that won't really matter all that much. I do think that if we're rolling all these pieces out individually, that the chart will just be a little more gradual on the way up, and we won't see big spikes because all this stuff's coming out. And I get it, it's hard. Like how do you explain to people how the Animal Farm works from scratch, right? Most of us know fairly well because we've been in the ecosystem, but we still have some questions. But if you're new to it, you got to understand the Animal Farm and also this complicated Pigpen game. Then you got to do the Dogs game, Scratchy. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to it. It's just a lot. It's a lot for people to handle. So I can see why they're rolling it out piece by piece. We've all just been waiting a long time, so we're ready to rock. Like if he wants to dump it all at one time, I'm ready to go. The Scratchy conversation, I think, brought up a lot of questions in people's mind and really in mine too. Like I understand it, I think maybe just a little bit less now. But there's some questions I want to get answered. Like we know if another platform, say PancakeSwap, uses ours, that 15% will go back into like Drip or the Animal Farm. That'll go to buy their native asset. So my question is, what happens with that? Like, are we required to stake it? How long do we have to hold it if we want to sell it to create some liquidity for Pigpen rewards or whatever it is? Like, are we able to, we have flexibility there? Do we have to hold these things into perpetuity? And then what I also don't understand is, like if you guys watch my Logan Paul video, that guy doesn't have a platform with a native asset. So what happens to that percentage? Can that money, if it's like an influencer, can that money then go back into Drip or the Animal Farm? So anyway, I've just got some questions about it. It's not clear yet, so I'm in the process of asking all those, and as soon as I have that information, I will relay it back to you. But what I will say is don't concern yourself all that much with it because it's several months down the line. Let's just focus on what's going to happen over the next couple months for the most part. So why the delays? A lot of people are bummed by it, they're frustrated by it, and these big delays, man, they're stacking up. So again, it sounds like Forex had an issue with one of the developers. This is kind of like an ongoing theme that we've got. Forex hires people, they're not necessarily all that motivated. They start out real hot. They say they're doing a certain amount of work, but they're not getting it all done. Some people are needing to take breaks, all that type of stuff. So I will say, if I'm being critical here, the Forex has got to dial in this team building thing. as soon as possible. But he's got to get the right people on the team so there's not these delays. And I get it, it's probably super hard because you can't really micromanage those people. You're not with them. Everything's got to be virtual. You're not standing over their shoulder. You're not coming into the job and actually having to get work done. So if these guys are getting paid, they might just be down hanging out at the park and not actually getting their work done. So it's frustrating to find good workers anyway. If any of you guys own a business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's very few people out there that are really self-motivated. So I get that. Here's my concern. I think that we need to find a way to really vet these guys better. Because I was talking to another dev the other day, and I won't say which project it is, but basically that dev team hired a third-party dev to handle some work for them like several months ago. That dev did his work and left, and they were none the wiser. But he built a little bug in so he could remote access one of the other devs' computers and was able to patch in like 4 months later and drain a little bit of liquidity from the account. So they caught it early on, they were able to shut it down, and luckily they had a pool just sitting there of backup money just in case anything happened. So they made everyone whole, and it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. But if you're not vetting your devs super hard, stuff like that can happen. So that's partially my concern. If I were him, I would just turn up that vetting process. Make sure it's really stringent, just to make sure we're getting the right type of people on board, right? If this project's going to last forever, I'd say the one thing that could melt this project down is a shady dev who comes on board and does something crazy. I know Forex goes in, checks all the code and everything, but when you give people the keys to the kingdom, weird stuff can happen. So anyway, that's just my little side note. That's what I was thinking about when I heard that, because I know we've had some little frustrations with the devs, and man, if we could get that lined up or cleaned up rather, I think we could be in a really good spot, because it sounds like the project manager's doing really well and the rest of the devs are doing really well. So we've just still got some little personnel issues that need to be cleaned up, but I'm excited for that to be a thing of the past. Forex didn't talk in detail about the marketing plan. I'd like to ask him some more questions about the details around that. But he did basically say that this is going to be, the best marketing plan of its kind. The campaign that we're going to launch is going to be nothing that's ever been seen in the DeFi space and on par with stuff that would happen in big corporate America. So I'm extremely excited to see what that looks like. I want to know where I'm going to see the ads. I want to know just what angles they're taking. I spend a bunch of my time doing marketing consulting for a couple of companies, so I understand how creative some of these campaigns can be, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with. Forex says the people that he's brought on are top tier for marketing. So if they're top tier, we should be pretty blown away by this, because we've never really done any marketing. I mean, Forex doing AMAs is really light word of mouth marketing, which is awesome. It's built a community of over 100,000 people, but it's not going to be the thing that propels us into the future, right? I forget what the phrase is, but it's like, what you did to get here won't be enough to get you to the next level, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically it. I mean, we've got to this point. We need real marketing campaigns. Let's still do the AMAs. Hopefully he gives me one and we can go back and forth. Plus there's a lot of other great channels out there too that I think are deserving of them. I'd love to see Forex jump on This Week in Drip and do just like a 15-minute breakdown of something new that's going on. That team over there at Cryptozoa is like, I swear they're like 20% of the total drip population. Those guys are master team builders. But I think he can do a few different things like that. We can mix it up, and then a general real marketing campaign with paid advertising is going to make a big impact on the price. Hopefully we get the date next week, marketing starts, and everybody's super happy. So just a couple more things I noted here before we wrap up. One was just my new estimates for the price. So everything is coming out quite a bit slower than we originally expected. And my big catalyst for the drip price was going to be Scratchy. And since that's not coming out till later in the year, that really impacts what my price estimates are. So I'll say this. I think that we will still touch 3-figure drip this year. I think over the next 2 months, drip will get up in that $40 range. And that's just based off of Animal Farm being launched and being live for a couple weeks, assuming that it works and there's no issues. And that marketing campaign have been running for 2 months, forcing people over to drip and getting us in front of new faces, new wallets, and having people onboard at a pretty solid rate. So if that happens in about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, meaning that Animal Farm would have been launched at least for a couple weeks and be working, then I think we're probably going to be in that $40 drip range. There'll be some ups and downs with key announcements that happen throughout the year, but a lot of the focus is going to be on Animal Farm, right? The Pigs game is Animal Farm related, Dogs game is Animal Farm related. So there's going to be a point, I think, the drip again is sort of taking a back seat, and that next catalyst to bring it back up and hit big numbers is going to be Scratchy. So depending on when that comes out, yeah, we could be looking at an $80 drip or a $100 drip. It just depends. If we get scratchy for all of November and December, and we've got some good partnerships lined up, which hopefully they're working on those now, then we could easily see that $100 drip. If we don't and everything kind of drags out, we don't have those big partnerships lined up, we could just be a bit below that. But spring of next year, when everything really comes out, I think we'll see another all-time high. Very positive overall. We just have to be realistic with our expectations and our timelines of when this stuff's really going to come out. But none of it's really important. Like, even at this price, a maxed out wallet makes you a ton of money. So as long as development keeps happening and piece by piece this stuff starts coming together, even if the price isn't 50 like we really want it to be, if it spikes up to 10, goes back down to 8, we end up at 15, I mean, as long as the ecosystem doesn't break, we all have the potential to make a ton of money. I know everyone wishes they had $25 million in their account right now, but let's just say this thing coasts along like this and you only make $300,000 on top of your investment. That's still a fantastic ROI. So be a little bit realistic and remember that this stuff takes time. Can't get rich overnight, even in DeFi. Forex said a couple times on the call, and I think he's just laying the breadcrumbs. I've said this before. If you're in now, the people that are in now are the ones that are going to get rewarded. He's going to reward the long-term holders. So he sprinkled that in a few times through the AMAs. He said it again in this one with Kendall. And if you look back at his other projects, other tokens he's come out with, he said that back then in his Discord. He said that multiple times. And he always brought those projects after a big pullback back to all-time highs. So in my eyes, if he's done it before multiple times, he's going to do it again. So anyway, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Happy investing.